It's October 1992, and we report on the burgeoning business of elk antlers.
These are elk antlers, after they've been harvested from their owners, large Canadian elk. They're the focus of a new industry for the Midwest, the elk antler industry. This vat is filled with ginseng and other Chinese herbs, and basically the horn is dipped into this concoction. A reason for that is to kill off all the bacteria that's connected to the horn. It's also used as a preservative to help preserve the horn, and it gives it a real sweet smell that's popular in the Orient.
You can go any herb shop in Orient, Korea, Japan, China. You will see two things on the facade. You know, they see ginseng and alcohol. Always.
The horn is taken to improve the potency of an individual and to help build strength.
Actually, the Canadian alcohol is the best in the world. It's like a brand new product. Nobody recognizes it yet.
And a good pair of antlers will bring in around $2,000. And a record is kept so that no outside or wild antlers will end up in the process. In other words, poaching for horns is not permitted. Another thing I'll get.
This week in 2009, the Lloydminster Hospital receives an impressive new ultrasound machine.
The new machine is an upgrade from past ultrasound devices at the hospital. A demo unit was shown to the hospital in July, and the machine arrived near the end of August. The doctors are glad to have the new technology at their disposal. Perhaps the biggest feature of the new machine is its portability, allowing doctors to perform ultrasounds wherever they need to in the hospital. The machine cost $66,000, and every penny of it was donated by the Kinsman Foundation. Grayson Knutson, Newcap News.
Join us next time for Upgrade or Groundbreaking. I'm Brian Hardy for Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1988, the Upgrade or Groundbreaking had local politicians smiling.
The upgrader is a victory for them over all the opinions that predicted this moment would never come. The proof, it seems, is here.
There's oil a few feet deeper.
People here have waited and watched for the upgrader for years. Husky President Art Price says a low oil price won't jeopardize the project either.
We all agreed to build it, all after a lot of serious thought. Short-term oil prices aren't what makes or breaks this project. We've already made up our minds based on pretty low short-term oil prices.
So far, about 30 workers are on site. They're all employees of a Marwayne contractor hired to scrape the topsoil from the earth.
We'll be prepared for the major work next spring and summer.
It looks like nothing's going to stop the project now, but people in the crowd are cautious. It's likely a few have their fingers crossed. Gwen Polakowski, Broadcast Center News.
It's October 2000, and Cold Lake celebrates becoming a city.
With the military hovering overhead, Cold Lake residents stretched out along the Millennium Trail in a long line of humanity.
To symbolize that, yes, we have a city that's a little bit spread out, but we are all a part of that big city now.
And Cold Lake residents have reason to celebrate.
Now declare the city of Cold Lake official.
What was once the Tri-Town area is now officially the city of Cold Lake.
We're doing this because our pioneers had the vision to establish the community in a very prosperous part of the Alberta. And it's our responsibility to carry on that vision and build on that.
Join us next time when we pay tribute to a pillar of the community on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1991, we pay tribute to a man who helped build the border city.
For almost 50 years, Ray Nelson has been an active figure in the city, a man known for caring and giving. Last night at the Communiplex, Lloydminster gave a little bit back. Over 700 people honored Nelson for his dedication and contribution to the border city. Those that know Nelson say his contributions to the border city have been great.
Ray Nelson is a very caring, gentle, warm, concerned individual.
He's a really good guy, and I think it was very well deserved tonight.
Ray Nelson seemed touched as he thanked everyone who turned out to show their appreciation for his efforts in our community. And what better way to close the evening than with a song from Deputy Prime Minister Don Mazankowski. Chris Krieger, NewsHour.
It's October 1988, and Lakeland College in Vermilion celebrates its expansion.
This is one of the first shows on Lakeland College's new stage. The ceremony for the official opening of Alumni Hall in Vermilion and the 75th anniversary of the college is jam-packed with dignitaries. People like Deputy Prime Minister Don Mazankowski, Alberta Agriculture Minister Peter Elzinga, and Premier Don Getty are here. The theatre isn't all of Alumni Hall. There's a new cafeteria here. There's a new library as well. And the alumni office was a place many former students gathered at. Lakeland College began as an agricultural school 75 years ago, and since then it's changed and expanded into other areas. New buildings like Alumni Hall will help the college continue to change and expand to meet new needs. Gwen Polakowski, Broadcast Center News, Vermilion.
Join us next time when we look back to the future of psychiatric services. I'm Brian Hardy for Retrospect, this week from the archives. It's late October 1996 and we highlight technological innovation in the medical field.
Psychiatric services at the touch of a button.
I believe that this is a very innovative way to provide specialty services to rural Alberta.
The telepsychiatry project at the Wainwright Health Centre links the centre with the Alberta Hospital Ponoka. Officials say this allows patients to get treatment from a psychiatrist without leaving their community. And officials add it also often enables rural patients to bypass long waiting lists. Lists that get longer as psychiatrists in Alberta get more scarce.
There's a shortage of psychiatrists, and that shortage doesn't appear to be going away. In fact, it's probably getting worse.
The pilot project is set to end soon. However, officials say it will be extended if it is received well by the public. Tammy De Silva, Health Watch.
This week in 1995, the country was anxious to know if it could hold itself together.
Dear Lord, we ask for your special help today in this hour of our national need. Guide our brothers and sisters of Quebec in wisdom and love as they focus their attention on the referendum.
A prayer for national unity this morning from Border City students. A last-minute plea to Quebecers to say no to separating from Canada. And out and about in Lloydminster, a variety of views.
Is Canada ever going to be the same? That's what goes through my head. It'll never be the same.
Well, let them go one way or another. Doesn't matter to me too much.
Yeah, I like Canada stay all together.
I feel I wish they'd separate and get it over with.
But whatever the opinion, everyone agrees. There's not much that can be done at this point except wait, see, and pray. Tammy De Silva, NewsHour.
Join us next time when the Premier discusses politics on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1998, the Border City held its Business Week, with the Premier making an appearance.
Ralph Klein spoke of focusing on the positive last night at the Business Week banquet.
It is so good to be living in this province.
Klein has been in the news recently after he announced his hopes to merge the federal Tory and Reform parties as a way to remove the Liberals from power.
I think that's the only way that we're ever going to have a conservative movement or conservative government in this Canada, whether that's a reform conservative or a progressive conservative.
When asked the question if tax cuts coupled by dropping oil prices could be a cause of concern for the province, Klein responded by saying he wasn't worried.
These things are always cyclical. They never last forever. I've always said that you never look at things as a depression, a recession. You look at these things as an economic interruption.
Sage Pullen, NewsHour.
It's November 2001 and teacher mics are installed at one Wainwright school.
Surround sound in the classroom. Cordless microphones and speakers were integrated into one class per year. But with funding from Alberta Learning, Wainwright Elementary placed the system school-wide. Each teacher is equipped with a headset or lapel mic, battery pouch, and extra batteries. Best of all, they do not have to strain their voice to be heard.
Once you get used to wearing it, it's just there. You don't even think about it.
I think that we've taken a positive step here to really make some improvements in the learning environment in our classrooms at Wainwright Elementary School.
In Wainwright, Nicole Strachlet, NewsHour.
Join us next time when we meet a new generation war veteran on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1990, war in the Persian Gulf prompted preparedness.
Air cover for ships in the Gulf. The pilots have been inoculated, informed of cultural differences, and are all generally prepared and ready to go.
You know, I think everybody's a little bit nervous about what's going on because, you know, there's a lot of talk of war and stuff like that, and there's a good chance that you might not be, you know, coming back.
If war does break out in the Persian Gulf, this will be the first time that Canadian pilots and equipment have seen action since World War II. That doesn't bother the 416 Squadron, as that is what they're trained for. And with the CF-18 jet, they say they'll have the best fighter plane in the Persian Gulf. At CFB Cold Lake, I'm Mike Long for NewsHour.
It's November 2004, and we remember alongside a Canadian war vet.
I always knew the significance of Remembrance Day because my grandfather, I lived with him for 18 years before I got to join the Army. And we always went to Remembrance Day ceremonies with him.
Jerry Conlon comes from a lineage of Canadian soldiers dating back to World War I. It's a line that he joined in 2002 when he headed to Afghanistan. A rewarding experience, Conlon says, but one that came with a heavy personal cost.
In one day, we had three of my good friends were killed. One of my very respected sergeants were killed during a firefight we had with Taliban insurgents.
Conlon calls Remembrance Day a bittersweet occasion, with harsh memories intertwined with the good. But now, with time and perspective, he's accepted his place as a Canadian veteran.
Like these guys, you know, they may be older than me and they may have fought in different wars, but they're still fellow soldiers.
Indeed, as Canadians pay their respects for the heroes of eras past, they've also begun recognizing the contribution of the new generation.
It's reinvigorated the Canadian public to keep that memory alive.
Join us next time when we get motivated on Retrospect, this week from the archives. It's November 2008, and Craig Kielburger brings his message of hope to the border city.
His message is quite simple. It doesn't take a huge action to make the world better.
All of us have the opportunity every day to leave the world a slightly better place.
Kielburger is now 25, and Free the Children is one of the most well-known non-profit programs in the world.
Students across the prairies, across Canada for that matter, have fundraised and built more than 500 schools in developing countries.
Kielburger spoke to 1,000 people at the Stockade Convention Centre last night. Craig Travers is with investors group Lloydminster, who helped put on the event.
To breed his enthusiasm, the best place to start is with our kids and then have them bring it home.
Kielburger adds that youth need to realize the time for action is now.
So often in our society here, we tell young people to wait, but youth don't have to wait. And the world can't wait for them. They need the youth to be active today on so many pressing social issues.
Grayson Knutson, Newcap News.
This week in 1990, the message isn't so hopeful at the local SPCA.
The Lloydminster SPCA is making a plea for help. In the last few days alone, some 65 animals have come through the doors. SPCA President Les Harper says the economy is the biggest problem right now.
Especially as winter is coming in, they're thinking about trying to keep their own families taken care of.
And that means a large number will have to be euthanized. This dog got lucky, but the majority won't be so lucky. In the last 4 days, 7 dogs and 25 cats have already been put down, and another 27 animals, including these pups, will be put down tomorrow.
This time tomorrow, a large number of these animals will be gone, but it won't be to a warm and friendly home. Tomorrow is Vet Day. Karina Fairbrother, NewsHour.
Join us next time when our old factory comes under attack on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1991, the message was, just say no.
The spirit continues for students in Maidstone and Lashburn. Each year they gather for a day-long look at lifestyles.
I think today for students of Maidstone and Lashburn especially is a good way to see a positive lifestyles and to learn a lot about what they're going to face in the future and how to deal with that.
And this year their day was capped with a humorous look at saying no to drugs and alcohol. Kevin Wanzer is a self-titled humorist who travels to schools in Canada and the States to spread his Just Say No message.
We just want to try to show kids that, you know, you can be drug-free and you can stay away from alcohol and still have fun. I mean,
now next year, hopefully, the people who saw the conference will learn about it and then they'll take it over next year.
In Maidstone, Michael Higgins, NewsHour.
Join us next time when our old factory comes under attack on Retrospect, this week from the archives. It's November 1990 and the oil industry is being blamed for the noxious odors in Lloydminster.
Oil companies, especially refineries, are often fingered for causing pollution problems. Here in Lloydminster, nobody likes the smell or the smoke from the refinery. Husky officials say the smell isn't dangerous.
All the information that we have is that nothing that we're emitting is harmful health-wise. It's an irritant.
Howell says the company is spending big bucks trying to eliminate the problem. Over $400,000 is being spent to reduce pollution in the loading area. Husky has also set up a monitoring system to keep track of pollutants in the air.
One good thing about this weather is the fact that the bulk of what the refinery produces is road asphalt, and in the winter the plant only runs at about 20% of capacity. I'm Mike Long for Oil Week.
This week in 2006, the new ethanol plant is being blamed for the smell.
Everyone has a unique way to describe what's in the air.
Smells like burnt chocolate cookies.
Putrid kind of smell.
Rotten, I don't know, rotten eggs on that side.
Just like the analysis, most people aren't sure where it's coming from. One of the major contributors to the odor is the Husky ethanol plant that has been operating for about 2 months.
Husky did not want to do an interview on camera, but when we spoke with them over the phone, they did assure us that it is not a health concern.
For years, Lloydminster's industries have been giving off strong emissions, but some feel this doesn't compare.
It's one that I never smelt before, and I lived here for 6 years.
Does it worry you at all?
No. Not with the other smells in Lloyd.
Amy Martin, Newcap News.
Join us next time when we get into the Christmas spirit on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week's Retrospect is dedicated to the gift of Christmas through the years.
People in Lloyd really do help you out when you want to help those who don't have gifts and things like that. Yet everyone enjoys Christmas and everybody deserves Christmas.
People are happy to see us because they know it's going to be a Christmas for them. And they put it right under the tree right away and they keep it there till Christmas. And it feels pretty good to see that.
Our entire staff gets in on it, from Jeanette, our receptionist, hardest working woman in show business, right down to all the announcers, everybody on the day that we start the delivery, and we put in some long hours. And we have a good time because we get to go to people's houses and make them happy. Everybody should have a job like that.
It's been a job that CKSA employee Jeanette Garrett has helped out with for the last number of years. When she finds time, she's busy making sure that all the gifts get wrapped.
You really can't explain it until you actually go out and deliver the gifts and see the reaction of these kids, you know. And like I said, it just makes you feel great.
Merry Christmas Broadcast Center.
Jeanette Garrett has been part of the gift of Christmas for the past decade, but so far this year, the warmth of giving has only been lukewarm.
We're really short of gifts this year. It's just slow and it's hard for people out there, we realize, but these children won't have Christmas without their help.
I know last year it was sort of 12 to 14-year-old boys seemed to be the hard one to get for some reason. This year, basically, anything you can drop off would be appreciated.
The positive impact is just unbelievable, and I know we have people each year that come in and give gifts that at one point were little kids and they were getting gifts from the gift of Christmas, and now they understand how important it was for them.
Join us next time when there's turmoil in the oil patch on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1989, the oil industry faced some tough challenges.
1989 began on a sour note for Husky Oil. The excitement of the summer before and the announcement of the Husky Oil upgrader was gravely overshadowed by the shutdown of some 225 wells and the resulting layoffs.
I would think, on the contrary, if we want to throw in the upgrader, we're going to see a rather significant increase in Husky personnel in Lloydminster.
Meantime, over at Amoco, the past year was full of turmoil as well.
With our particular company, there's been a lot of turmoil naturally because of the merger. Anytime you merge two large companies, you can expect quite a lot of turmoil, and there has been a lot of turmoil, but we've made a lot of progress and expect the turmoil to continue.
Smook says the year may have been stressful, but very rewarding.
I personally hope that it never goes into a boom state like we've had in the past. it creates too much turmoil and havoc with people's lives.
Karina Fairbrother, Broadcast Center News.
It's December 1998, and the game of Lloydminster is unveiled.
After we'd gotten the results from the air show in and realized that we needed to raise some funds.
Thus, the game of Lloydminster was born. Eric Block-Hansen with the Kiwanis Club presented a copy to Deputy Mayor Tracy Douglas this morning.
The Kiwanis Club is very important to the community. They do lots of good work, and we wanted to support them.
You won't need your get-out-of-jail-free card to pick up a copy. However, don't wait too long. 200 were pre-ordered, and sales are going extremely well. For only $20, they make a pretty good Christmas gift.
Hey, how you doing?
Brian Mudrick, NewsHour. Hey guys. Hey.
Join us next time when government cutbacks threaten the local airport on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1995, our news was in the spotlight.
It started off like any other concert, with the children singing Christmas carols decked out in special costumes. But then Christmas hit the television airwaves.
Welcome to NewsHour. I'm Lisa Henderson, and joining me this evening is Michael Higgins. Thank you, Lisa.
I wanted it to be something personal, and I thought, what in Lloydminster could I do that would work? And CKSA got it.
Jim Unger explores the secret of peace with Mayor Ilston Plant. Tommy De Silva is on special Christmas assignment. Sherry Lukens forecasts a very warm weather trend, and we had our weekly feature, Police Beat.
In this week's edition of Police Beat, we have an amazing story of how the power of Christmas could work to fight crime.
And of course, don't forget Greg Buchanan with NewsHour Sports, and the Blazers are winning.
It's a story that is told every year, and you want to find a unique way, and I think we did find a unique way this year of telling it.
Julie Matthews, NewsHour.
It's December 1994, and government cutbacks ground airport operations.
The Lloydminster Airport may not be giving takeoff or landing clearance much longer. As part of the Alberta government's cost-cutting measures, the province has decided to unload its provincially owned airports by April of this coming year.
Mr. Kleins wants to balance the budget, and somebody has to pay, and I guess it's going to be us.
I guess the biggest question is, if you ask our ratepayers to subsidize an airport, it'd have to make some kind of sense to do that.
Many also question the sense of letting an airport that brings so much revenue into the area be shut down. Interested parties will now have until the middle of January to decide whether or not they want to put in a bid to keep the airport in Lloydminster. Tammy De Silva, NewsHour.
Join us next time when Saskatchewan farmers rally for support on Retrospect, this week from the archives.
We, the farmers of Saskatchewan, are the growing industry.
It's December 1992, and Saskatchewan farmers voiced their concerns.
Today, we are standing up together for our industry.
And the farming industry spoke out loud. There were about 3,000 people in attendance demanding that assistance be given to agriculture. The two main speakers were the federal and provincial ministers of agriculture, Bill McKnight and Daryl Cunningham. McKnight says the problems didn't start with the federal government, but the provincial government and farm organizations.
Farm leadership knew there was a disaster if we came into difficult times, and farm leadership in this province, with the odd exception, didn't speak on your behalf.
There are estimates, as I understand it, that in '92, in this year, as many as 12,000 farmers in Saskatchewan will lose their farms. So obviously something has to be done quickly and in a large manner.
This week in 1997, the area was enjoying unseasonably warm temperatures.
Of a white Christmas.
Not gonna happen. This could be the first brown Christmas since 1959. The lack of snow doesn't seem to be stopping the shopping.
Beautiful, love it, gorgeous, fantastic.
It's beautiful.
I think it's wonderful to have weather like this at this time of the year.
Wonderful. I don't like snow very much at all.
It's nice. I kind of like to see snow for Christmas, though.
Richard Ozero, NewsHour.
Join us next time when we bring in the new year with some resolutions on Retrospect, this week from the archives. With the passing of another year and the promise of a new one, we look back in retrospect at the tradition of making New Year's resolutions.
Stop chewing my nails, because I just chew them so badly.
Yeah? I'll clean my room more often.
Keep our room clean.
That's a good one. Any others?
Study for tests.
But probably keep my room clean and do my homework. And that's about all. Not much. Okay, and be nice to my brother.
Quit smoking, I hope.
It's no use making them. You always break them anyways.
Make more money. That's a good resolution when you're in business, isn't it?
I really like to quit smoking, but I'll try hard. And a little bit of the swearing could go away too.
We bought a treadmill here a couple of months back, and I need to get some use out of that.
We are going to get up every morning before work and exercise.
Yeah, I think I need to not take on any new projects, but just finish the ones that I have.
Just to be nice to everyone. It's just to try and stay healthy, wealthy, and not wealthy, just healthy.
In the past, it's been things like spend more time with family and with friends and that sort of thing.
My buddy and I both resolved we're going to drive somewhere and jump out of a plane. And if we have a little extra money, we're going to get some parachutes with it, so it should be a fun time.
To become more involved in the community.
I resolved to accomplish more, yet commit to fewer meetings.
My New Year's resolution is to become more focused.
Now my New Year's resolution is to stop losing my hair. Have more quality time with the family.
Nobody keeps them, so I won't make any.
My biggest one is to cut back on the sweets. My New Year's resolution for 1999 is to call my mom in Ontario more often.
Gonna try to save some money for 1999. Yeah. Wishing you all the best, and hope you can make some resolutions that you too can keep.
A huge crowd on hand despite the sub-zero temperature outside. International hockey. Team Canada and the Soviet national team.
It's early January 1994 and the border city is treated to some top-notch hockey.
Now the best goal of the night. Nedved and Korea go 2-on-1. Korea has the shot but slides it across the Nedved. Nothing but open net. It's 3 on the night for the Canuck holdout as Canada wins it 6-4.
Well, when you consider we scored 4 goals in 4 games in Izvestia, I guess that's about 1,000% improvement. But we had hoped we would have a real top caliber Olympic contenders in the roster for Russia. So we're a little disappointed by that because quite frankly, I don't know how much better we're getting by playing a team like this.
Nedved joined the Olympic program the last week of December. In the 8 games he has played, he has registered 12 goals and 22 points. The much talked about holdout with the Vancouver Canucks always a point of discussion. Midnight Monday, the deadline for the Canucks to make a deal for him. Nothing developed in the area. But Nedved says, regardless of what happened, he is committed to the Olympic program.
What I have been understand that Vancouver Canucks, they don't have the trade for me, or they don't want to trade me either way, and it's one of those things, and I'm happy where I am, and I think I'm going to Norway for 100%.
Well, Canada looks to be led by their big line in Lillehammer. The Russian Ice Hockey Federation, like the country, has gone through turmoil, with a recent report of the Russian mafia influencing hockey.
It is difficult to say because we know about this problem just only from the press.
While the Russians sort out the problems, Team Canada will try and figure out how they can bring home gold next month in Lillehammer, Norway. Keith Snellgrove, NewsHour Sports.
Join us next time when we witness the beginning of the boom on Retrospect, this week from the archives. It's January 1989 and the future looks bright for the border city.
It won't be long until the Bar Colony Heritage Cultural Centre opens in early March. The Leisure Centre will follow shortly after when it opens in mid-May. Construction on Lakeland College will continue into the summer with completion near the end of the year. Construction on roads is planned, particularly twinning the Saskatchewan side of the Yellowhead and extending 62nd Avenue. Finally, the biggest hopes lie in a patch of land east of the city.
Maybe after it's on stream and our population is stabilized, we may continue after that having steady growth. But again, it depends on the price of oil.
Most people, including Mayor Pat Gulak, are counting on this patch of land for economic relief in 1989. But the city is still heavily dependent on oil and needs to diversify in order to get away from the boom-bust cycle. As Lloydminster heads into 1989, better times are definitely ahead. Gwen Polakowski, Broadcast Center News.
This week in 1991, a spectacular fire lit up the night sky.
Last night, one of Lloydminster's oldest elevators burned to the ground under suspicious circumstances. The Saskatchewan Wheatpool elevator was the second one built in the area in the mid-1920s. In an odd coincidence, the first one ever built burned to the ground as well. Last night's fire and the fact that it comes so close on the heels of the Blackfoot fire has people mumbling arson. Yerke feels this particular fire could not have been an accident.
Well, I don't think we're prepared to accept the fact that these fires that are happening are circumstantial.
He adds if something like this happens again, extra staff may be required to stay at night so that something like this doesn't happen again.
Join us next time when we introduce you to the Clausen Puck on Retrospect, this week from the archives.
Together, let's relive that magic.
This week in 2001, we remembered one of the best-loved Canadian television shows of all time.
From coast to coast on the CBC, it's Don Messer's Jubilee!
Not only is a Don Messer Jubilee tribute band about a good old-fashioned time, it's also about remembering the past. From gathering around your television set to dancing around the kitchen table to meeting Don Messer in person. Ask anyone in the crowd and they'll tell you a story.
This evokes all the joy that they had, shared back in 1958 to 1969. It's not rare for people to come up backstage crying. I just got crying. It's so emotional that they're just happy that they've seen the show.
At the Lloydminster Convention Centre, Anne-Marie Blackburn, NewsHour.
It's January 1996 and the hockey puck is being redesigned.
This is what you're used to seeing when you watch a hockey game. Players chasing a tiny black puck. Apparently the puck is too tiny for some viewers, so the Fox network is attempting to solve the problem with the computer-enhanced version. Their puck cost about $3 million to design and contains a computer chip. The chip sends a signal to the transmitter and viewers at home see a computer-enhanced trail as the puck moves. We're sure it'll receive rave reviews, but just in case, we've created the Clausen Puck. Instead of fancy computer enhancement, the Clausen Puck has a streamer nailed to it. The streamers create a trailer when the puck is fired around. Both pucks are easier to see, but ours is a lot cheaper. So if Fox is looking to save some money, we're not applying for a patent. Just keep the name. Joshua Clausen, NewsHour Sports.
Join us next time when Internet meets Classroom on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 1996, the World Wide Web was catching on in schools.
The Internet has been available through the Lloyd Comp Library since last February. Interest in the computers has been high.
We actually have quite a bit of use on the Internet. There's about 3 or 4 students per day.
Students are excited about the opportunity to use the new technology, and many are using the computers for more than just their studies.
If you're just on it for fun, like me, you just browse through entertainment, or when you're working in class, usually there's a lot of up-to-date information.
As the Internet becomes more common, many schools will look to make it available to their students.
I think that you're going to see more and more schools get online and really see what it's capable of doing and providing their students with necessary skills for the future.
Joshua Clausen, NewsHour.
It's January 2006 and we're treated to a visit by a down-to-earth astronaut.
Around 250 students at Grand Centre Middle School had the chance to meet Canadian astronaut Chris Hadfield. Hadfield, the former fighter pilot once based at Four Wing Cold Lake, was speaking to several schools in the area about his career and space exploration.
Part of the reason that I come to Cold Lake to talk to the students is to just let them know some of the amazing things that are going on in the world around them.
Hadfield says people should be proud of our country's involvement in the space program.
Our hardware is orbiting the Earth on the space station, our hardware is on Mars, our hardware is orbiting Saturn and Jupiter right now.
And Hadfield has advice for kids thinking about becoming astronauts.
So I challenge students to get an advanced education, to take care of their bodies, and to do interesting things for themselves that make them interesting to others.
Stacey Comer, Newcap News.
Join us next time when we meet the new Prime Minister on Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 2006, Stephen Harper is sworn in as Canada's newest Prime Minister.
Grade 12 students at one border city school spent the morning watching the swearing-in ceremony of Stephen Harper and his cabinet. Teacher Paul Theriault says there were a few surprises.
The lower than expected representation from Alberta vice the higher than expected representation from Quebec, so it's going to be very, very interesting.
Most of the students are expecting good things from the new Prime Minister, including investment in post-secondary education.
Tuitions are just out of this world, so I'm hoping he invests in our future.
If he lowers the costs of tuition and stuff, I mean, I could see younger people voting for him.
I sincerely believe that he is going to make a change in the government.
Meanwhile, Theriault says Harper's government does face some big challenges and expects we will be back at the polls in less than 2 years.
18 months, I would say, is probably as long as this government's going to live.
Stacey Comer, Newcap News.
It's February 2010 and the torch relay for the Alberta Winter Games gets underway.
Just after 9 a.m. this morning in Cold Lake, in front of an enthusiastic student body, a ceremony was held to kick off the torch relay for the Alberta Winter Games. The Winter Games mascot danced and the crowd cheered as the torch runners were introduced. Led by police escort from St. Dominic's School, each runner carried the torch about 500 meters as it made its way from Cold Lake North to City Centre.
My son was lucky enough to be chosen to be one of the torch runners, so we're here to cheer them on and to celebrate the Winter Games.
The torch relay to us represents the spirit of the games, the enthusiasm for the games, and connecting kids from the schools to the community event that the Winter Games are.
In Cold Lake, Corleen Jarvis, Newcap News.
Join us next time for a Family Day fiasco in Retrospect, this week from the archives.
Well, our schools will be operating on Monday the 19th.
It's February 1989 and Saskatchewan has yet to adopt the Family Day holiday.
We are required to have a school year of a minimum length, and that length, I'm afraid, simply doesn't allow the scheduling of another holiday.
Most of the kids in Lloydminster think they should have the day off, though.
Well, I can understand it because we're a Saskatchewan school system why we don't get it off, but it really doesn't do much good if my parents get the day off and all the kids in my family don't.
And what would you do if you had it off?
I guess I would spend it at home with my family, just doing family things.
What the Alberta government thought would be a day to spend with the family has turned into just another border issue in Lloydminster. Unless the Saskatchewan government adopts the holiday or the border is moved, it'll remain that way. Krista Polishi, Broadcast Centre News.
This week in 1989, Lakeland College celebrates its past and its future.
The festivities were held mainly to mark the 75th birthday, but prominently displayed up by the stage were plans for the new Lloydminster campus. It's scheduled for completion in 1990 and will be a shining chrome and glass testament to Lakeland's accomplishments. Lakeland has seen a lot of changes over the years, from an emphasis on farming to a new emphasis on general agricultural practices. To ensure that a new crop of students will be gracing the doors of Lakeland in the future, scholarships were given away last night to students who are presently in kindergarten. These can be redeemed anytime during the first part of the 21st century. However, Lakeland College is going to have to undergo drastic changes between now and then if it hopes to train these aspiring students. David McGuinness, Broadcast Centre News.
Join us next time for a report on the economy in Retrospect, this week from the archives. It's February 1989 and the city of Lloydminster is trying to come up with a new idea for an old downtown building.
One of the ideas would be to have offices for the upgrader staff on the top floor, renovate the bottom level for retail businesses, as well as developing underground parking stalls.
This building has changed hands 3 times and gone into receivership since the Fisher family expanded on this site. Now the Alberta Treasury branch owns it, and they say they don't want to be landlords, they want to sell. The developers say it could take anywhere from $500,000 to $1 million to renovate this spot, and they say the only way the project will go ahead is if they know they can fill the space. Then they'll have to go to the city for approval. Lorraine Rossico, Broadcast Center News.
The steam is gone in the oil patch.
This week in 1998, the economic future of the region is in doubt.
With the price of heavy oil sitting at around $14, some oil companies have had to make some changes, cutting back on production and laying off a lot of people.
Thank you. But is oil the community's lifeblood?
The oil industry is not the be-all and end-all for this community. It's a farming community, ranching community. There's some manufacturing. So it isn't the end.
Lloydminster was here long before they ever found oil.
If you look in that window in the long term, we still have an awful lot of optimism in Lloydminster.
A lot of optimism on the future of heavy oil is based right here. It's centered on the possible expansions of the Husky upgrader.
I'm confident that the heavy oil industry in the long term is definitely here to stay.
Richard Ozero, NewsHour.
Join us next time when nuclear power is proposed for the oil industry. I'm Brian Hardy for Retrospect, this week from the archives.
My first reaction is good because we're going to have a chance to look at perhaps nuclear energy as an alternate for the Lloydminster area.
This week in 1992, nuclear power in the oil patch seemed like a logical idea.
If we have cheaper power, perhaps we can reduce the lifting costs of our heavy oil.
The Alberta Oil Sands Technology and Research Authority is studying the feasibility of using nuclear power in heavy oil extraction. A CANDU 3 reactor would help create steam, a critical component in the recovery of oil from sands or underground cavities. City officials were somewhat surprised by the CANDU story, but Mayor Pat Gulak says it's a proposal worth more study.
Well, I think before we can agree to it, I think there's a lot of environmental concerns that must be addressed as well as public education.
The automobile, when it first came out, scared all of the horses on the streets. Is that what we're talking about here? Is that technology is scaring us because we don't know what it's about?
Glenn Kirby, Broadcast Center News.
It's late February 1994, and we report on the job market of the future.
For people attempting to jump into today's vast job market, there's a lot of options that should be considered. For example, where are the jobs in the future going to be found? And some of these questions were answered last night at Lloyd Composite High School.
The areas I would shy away from would be the labor-intensive type of jobs.
Halliday went on to say that the resource sector would decrease by 4% over the period of 1991 to 2005, with some of the areas projected to grow during this period being manufacturing by almost 12%, sales and service by 30%, natural and applied sciences by nearly 41%, and arts, culture, sports and recreation by almost 45%. Jim Unger, NewsHour.
Join us next time for some fun at the Science Fair on Retrospect, this week from the archives. It's February 1999, and we visit a local science fair.
National Engineering Week is a towering success. The Association of Professional Engineers, Geologists, and Geophysicists of Alberta took part in a science competition at Bishop Lloyd School here in the border city. The competition saw 10 teams of 3 students apply scientific concepts to practical challenges.
We want them to be creative, enthusiastic, and innovative and to see what they can build.
The challenge for students was to demonstrate their scientific know-how by having to construct a tower with only cups, straws, toothpicks, and shaving cream in a limited time. While the competition is meant to encourage, it's also meant to show students that science can be fun. Through the hard work of staff and APEGA members, students here at Bishop Lloyd were able to participate in National Engineering Week. Members hope this could become an annual event. For NewsHour, I'm Terry Cunha.
This week in 1998, we explore the new phenomenon of social media.
Chat rooms have become the fun, favorable communication among the population today. People of all ages enjoy the fun experience of meeting new people. In one case, we met up with a person who met her special someone on the net.
I met him on a chat room where a lot of my friends go. Before we met, I did some research on him and gave him numbers of people he could call to find out about me, and we did that and everything checked out okay, and then he came here to stay for 3 months, and now we're getting married.
When using chat rooms on the internet, one should be cautious about who they are talking with and how much information they're giving out.
Parents should also closely monitor their children as they are communicating with others. Chat rooms can have a negative influence, but they can be a lot of fun. Jay Franks, NewsHour.
Join us next time when we witness the creation of hope in Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 2002, we preview the Hope statue.
Sculptor Rudy Schmidt is creating the image of a Mountie comforting a boy whose dog has been injured. Ultimately, the statue reflects compassion and professionalism on the part of police and how the force has long been a part of the community. Former Midwest Mountie Glenn Wood has been a driving force behind the statue. He is now working to raise the final $50,000 needed to meet the $250,000 price tag. When complete in time for Lloydminster Centennial in 2003, the statue will be placed at City Hall, portraying a message of hope.
In most cases, people should walk up to this and understand it.
It's so real to life, and what we all represent, we try to represent in our Canadian society of respect, community, family, and freedom.
Michael Higgins, NewsHour.
This year, you and I and other Canadians must make a life or death decision about our country.
It's March 1992, and Joe Clark brings the unity issue to the border city.
Joe Clark is driving home a message of keeping Canada whole. The Constitutional Affairs Minister has been working virtually non-stop over the past 10 months on a way for Canadians to agree on a constitution.
Bill McKnight is at the heart of one of the toughest fights in which Canada has ever been involved, in the gap. And we might win or we might lose. We're putting everything into it.
The next step in the constitutional process is a reply from the federal government to last week's parliamentary committee report. Joe Clark says that reply may come around Easter, making the way for a First Ministers' Conference. And the Constitutional Affairs Minister is hoping to have the support of all the premiers in keeping Canada together. Michael Higgins, NewsHour.
Join us next time for a theatrical history lesson. I'm Brian Hardy for Retrospect, this week from the archives. This week in 2002, we report on the Vic Juba Theatre and how it came to be.
For years, groups like Little Theatre played to whatever venue was available, and in the early 80s, that led to early discussions of a performing arts facility. At one point, there was thought of converting the old May Theatre building along 50th Avenue downtown. However, those discussions fell by the wayside.
Lloydminster campus is now officially open.
Theatre discussions resumed in the late 1980s and early 90s with the completion of Lakeland College. City Council pledged to match government funding through the college, and a needs assessment study eventually led to the planning stage. With interest in a performing arts theater rejuvenated, Lakeland College became the neutral ground site, and in early 2000, City Council passed a motion to form a planning committee.
Once they announced the location and what it was going to look at, the fundraising in 2.5 years raised a phenomenal amount of money, so people really recognized and really wanted this theater, so they contributed from their heart and from their wallets.
Gentlemen, if you could start your shovels.
Sod-turning ceremonies finally took place this past April and included an emotional announcement.
The community team that made this project happen was led by an exceptional individual, Mr. Vic Juba. To recognize this leadership, our city has officially named the new theater the Vic Juba Community Theater. Vic, you deserve this honor.
Construction soon followed, and the rest is history.
I will believe that within the next 20 years you'll see a Hollywood producer, some Hollywood technicians, and some Hollywood actors come out of our region because this facility is that good.
For NewsHour, I'm Michael Higgins.
Join us next time for a meeting of the Métis on Retrospect, this week from the archives.